Hey everyone, welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Emily. Today's episode is all about something that honestly doesn't get said enough. You don't have to be busy to be valuable.
It's wild, isn't it? How somewhere along the way, we all started measuring our worth by how packed our schedule is.
Yeah. Like if your calendar isn't overflowing, you feel like you're falling behind, or worse, like you're lazy.
I remember once telling someone I had a really quiet weekend planned, and they actually said, "Oh, that must be nice," but in that tone, like I should feel guilty for not doing anything.
Exactly. It's as if rest has become this luxury, not a basic human need. And somehow, we've tied productivity to identity. If you're not doing something constantly, people assume you're not trying.
And the thing is, being constantly busy doesn't actually mean you're doing meaningful things. You can be busy and disconnected. Busy and completely burnt out.
Absolutely. Some of the most important inner growth happens when you're still. When you give yourself space to reflect, rest, and just breathe without chasing something.
But society doesn't really reward that, does it? You get praised for the hustle, for staying late, for juggling 5 projects. No one claps when you say, "I took a nap and read a book."
But maybe they should. Because the truth is, you don't earn your worth through exhaustion. You're already valuable, even on your quiet days. Even when you're not achieving something visible.
And I think for a lot of us, that's a hard truth to accept. Especially if you grew up around people who wore busyness like a badge of honor, like it was the only proof they were doing life right.
That kind of mindset can follow you for years. You end up filling your time, just to feel worthy, saying yes to things you don't even care about, just so it looks like you're contributing.
But here's the thing, contribution doesn't always look loud. Some of the most impactful people I know move quietly. They are intentional. They know how to say no. And they are deeply present when it matters.
And they know that rest isn't a break from productivity, it's a part of it. When you slow down, you actually think clearer. You make better choices. You reconnect with yourself.
It's like a reset. But most of us treat it like failure. We feel guilty for sleeping in, for taking a slow morning, for not being on it every second.
And that guilt, it doesn't come from truth. It comes from pressure. From this weird, unspoken rule that says, if you're not busy, you're not trying hard enough.
But trying hard enough doesn't always mean doing more. Sometimes it means doing less, on purpose. Being selective with your time, and remembering that you're allowed to just exist, without proving anything.
Yeah. You're allowed to have slow days. To enjoy moments that have no end goal. To rest without having to earn it first. That's not laziness, it's balance.
And in that balance, you find yourself again. You remember who you are when you're not being pulled in 5 different directions.
That version of you, the quiet one, the rested one, is just as worthy. Maybe even more so. Because they're not running on fumes. They are whole.
One thing I've noticed is how people struggle to sit with stillness. Like, the moment there's a gap, no meeting, no emails, no noise, they feel uncomfortable. Almost like they've lost direction.
Totally. It's that feeling of, I should be doing something. Even on a Sunday afternoon when nothing's urgent, your brain's scanning for a task. And if there's nothing to fix or plan, you feel off.
And that just shows how deep this belief runs. That doing equals value. That if you stop, your momentum dies, and with it, your identity.
It's so dangerous, because that kind of thinking leads to burnout disguised as ambition. You keep pushing until your body shuts down. And even then, you feel bad for resting.
We've got to normalize not being available all the time. Not every minute needs to be filled. You're allowed to unplug, go for a walk, or stare out the window without feeling useless.
And funnily enough, some of your most creative, meaningful thoughts come in those in-between moments. The quiet ones. When your brain finally has space to breathe.
It's like what they say, your best ideas come in the shower, not during a meeting.
Exactly. And yet, we still equate busyness with importance. We think being overloaded is some kind of status symbol, when really, it's just a sign you might be running on autopilot.
I used to pack my day wall to wall, thinking that meant I was being productive. But truthfully, I was just distracting myself, from stillness, from hard emotions, from questions I didn't want to face.
That's such a common thing. We confuse movement with meaning. But if you strip it all back, are the things we're busy with actually aligned with what we care about? Or are they just noise?
And when you ask that, it's uncomfortable. Because sometimes, the answer is no. Sometimes we're just doing things because we don't know who we are without a to-do list.
And that's the heart of it, really. If your self-worth is tied to how much you accomplish, then any pause feels like an identity crisis.
Which is why it's so powerful to remind yourself, I am valuable, even when I'm not producing something. Even when I'm just being.
It's a radical shift, isn't it? To wake up and say, I don't have to prove anything today. I'm still enough. Not because of my schedule, but because I exist.
And imagine if more of us believed that. If we lived it. If we taught our kids that rest isn't laziness, that stillness isn't failure.
We'd be gentler with ourselves. And probably a lot happier too.
Because the truth is, life's not meant to be a performance. You don't need an audience to justify your worth. You're allowed to be present in your own life, not just race through it.
And sometimes, that presence shows up in the quietest moments. A slow coffee. A long breath. A single afternoon with nothing planned. And you know what? That's still living.
You know what's strange? When people say, I feel guilty when I'm not doing something, they are not talking about doing nothing as in being lazy. They are often just trying to breathe.
Right? They are reading a book, sitting in the garden, having a proper meal without checking emails, and still feeling like they're falling behind somehow.
We've been trained to see stillness as wasted time. But what if we flip that? What if those quiet moments are actually where the real stuff happens?
Like healing. Processing. Even just feeling what you've been avoiding. You can't do that when you're constantly rushing from one task to another.
And I think that's why a lot of people start feeling disconnected, even when their lives look full. It's like, everything's moving, but they're not present for any of it.
Yeah. You tick all the boxes, job, projects, workouts, social life, but deep down, there's this numbness. Like you're living on the surface, just coasting from one task to the next.
That kind of life might look successful from the outside, but on the inside, it's exhausting. You start wondering if you're ever going to feel truly rested.
And the scary part is, some people don't realize how burnt out they are until they are forced to stop. Until their body or mind just says, that's it, I'm done.
Exactly. So why wait until breaking point to rest? Why not build in slowness, on purpose, before things fall apart?
But that takes unlearning, doesn't it? You've got to challenge those deep-rooted beliefs about rest being indulgent or selfish. You've got to allow yourself to take up space without constantly earning it.
And that's tough when you've been praised your whole life for being driven and always on. Slowing down feels like betrayal, like you're letting go of your identity.
But maybe it's not betrayal. Maybe it's coming home. To a version of you that isn't built around deadlines and checklists. A version that's calm and steady and enough.
It's hard work, though. Doing less can be harder than doing more, especially when no one's clapping for it.
Yeah, no one gives you a medal for sitting still and breathing. But maybe the reward is something quieter. Peace. Clarity. Real joy, not the performative kind.
And you start realizing, busyness was never the thing that made you valuable. It was just noise. And once you turn it down, you can hear your actual self again.
And that version of you, that quiet, grounded, fully human version, is the one that's worth protecting. Because they are not performing. They are just being. And that's enough.
You know what's interesting? When people finally stop and slow down, maybe during a holiday or a bit of unexpected time off, they often feel lost. Like, they don't even know what they enjoy anymore.
Yeah, because their whole sense of self has been wrapped up in doing. They've been operating on autopilot for so long that when there's no task in front of them, they feel invisible.
It's like we've forgotten how to just be. To sit with ourselves without needing to prove anything or tick something off a list.
And that's when the real work begins, isn't it? When you sit in that discomfort long enough, eventually you start to hear yourself again, not the expectations, not the noise, you.
But that silence can be scary. It brings up all the questions we've buried under the busyness. Like, who am I when I'm not performing, or what do I actually want from this life?
And those are big questions. They don't have quick answers. But they are worth asking. Because they lead you back to a life that feels aligned, not just full.
And when you start listening, you realize you've been moving fast but not really going anywhere that matters. You've been chasing a version of success that doesn't even fit who you are.
Totally. And the pressure to keep up can be overwhelming. Everyone's posting achievements, side hustles, new milestones. It's easy to feel like you're behind just because you're resting.
But rest isn't behind. Rest is wisdom. It's you saying, I don't need to burn out to matter. That's not quitting, that's maturity.
And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is step away. From the noise. From the pace. From the version of yourself that's constantly performing just to feel worthy.
You start to see that your value doesn't come from how fast you move, how much you produce, or how many people applaud you. It comes from something much deeper, something that doesn't go away when you pause.
It's funny, isn't it? We spend years trying to earn value, only to realize we were never meant to. We were always enough. Even in our stillness. Especially in our stillness.
And when you embrace that, everything changes. You make choices differently. You set boundaries you used to avoid. You stop apologizing for needing space.
You stop performing rest and actually feel rested. You start living from the inside out, not just reacting to expectations.
And maybe that's the real version of success, when you no longer need to prove your worth to feel it.
You know, I used to think taking a slower path meant I'd miss out. Like everyone else would be miles ahead, while I was still figuring things out.
Yeah, same here. I thought if I didn't keep the pace, I'd fall behind. But what I've learned is, sometimes slowing down actually gets you closer to where you're meant to be.
Exactly. It's not about how fast you move. It's whether you're moving in the right direction. And that kind of clarity only comes when you're not rushing.
I remember this moment a while back. I had a weekend with no plans, which was rare for me. At first I panicked, like I should be filling it. But I didn't. I let it stay empty.
And how did it feel?
Weird at first. But then, freeing. Like I could finally breathe. I ended up writing a bit, going for a walk, even just lying on the sofa doing nothing, and I didn't feel guilty. For once, I felt peaceful.
Isn't it mad how hard it is to not be busy? How it takes actual courage to rest without shame.
It's a total mindset shift. You stop treating time like a currency to spend and more like a space to live in.
And when you do, you start noticing things you used to miss. The small stuff. The light through the trees, the taste of your coffee, the way a song makes you feel.
That's the stuff no one puts on a CV, but it's what makes life feel real.
Yeah. And when you look back, it won't be the long to-do lists you remember. It'll be the pauses. The moments you actually felt something instead of rushing past it.
That's the irony, right? We spend so long proving ourselves that we forget to experience ourselves. To be fully alive in our own story.
And once you realize you don't have to be busy to matter, you start choosing differently. You stop filling space just to feel valid. You protect your peace instead of trading it for praise.
And that's when things shift. You stop living a life that looks good and start living one that feels good.
There's so much power in that choice. In saying, I don't need to perform to be worthy. I already am. That's where freedom lives. Quiet, steady, honest.
So wherever you are right now, whether you're on a break, between things, or just caught in the stillness, we hope this reminded you that your value isn't measured by your productivity.
You don't have to earn your worth through constant motion. You are allowed to rest. To breathe. To simply be. And that is more than enough.
Thanks for spending a bit of quiet time with us today. It means a lot.
Take good care of yourself. And remember, slow doesn't mean stuck. Sometimes, it's the beginning of something much deeper.
We'll catch you next time on British Accent Podcast.
See you soon.